My name is Tulani Ngala. Today on MBC, Material Broadcasting Corporation, we have Mr. Magonya on our program, The Big Conversations. We are hoping to have a wide-ranging interview today. We are not just going to focus on one issue, but because we know that he is a man well-versed, particularly with politics of Matabeleland, that's where we're going to focus on. But it's not just the politics of Matabeleland, but it's also about himself. Baba Magonya, thanks very much for coming to MPC to have a conversation with us. If you don't mind, if you could just briefly tell us about who you are, where do you come from?
Thank you, Mr. Nkala. It is an honor indeed, to be invited to this interview with our NPC. I hope that you will not stop here. This is just the beginning of many more things to come. There are a lot of other people who have got quite a lot to offer, a lot to give. They are scattered all around here. I'm sure that you will extend the same invite to those cadres who are based here. Now, it's difficult really to respond to a question asking about who I am. I wouldn't want to respond in the same line as Mr. Skosana did, that I am Magonya. Yeah, but I guess you want to know my family background. That's what you're asking. You want to know a bit of, this and that about me.
Yeah, I want to know about you. So
Okay.
what makes you is your background, isn't it?
That's it.
It's your family, your upbringing.
Yeah, well, my character and my being has been largely influenced by society and community. Yeah, I'm a product of a society. I'm a product of a community. Well, I was born in Bulawayo, in Chabalala to be specific. I was born in the Chabalala clinic.
Okay.
And I grew up in Lupane, where we come from. That's our rural home. Well, I was in Lupane and in Kai, so I grew up in both places. And I did my primary education at Daluga Primary School.
Where is it?
It's in Lupane.
Oh, in Lupane.
Yeah, I did my primary education in Lupane. And then, we were interrupted by the Liberation War. Then I had to, move from the rural areas to town. So I completed my primary education at Mashabezulu Primary School. And then from there I went to Ihlati Secondary School. I had a stint at Founders High School before, one of those events took place, and so that's me. I have worked before. I worked for Edgar's group of companies.
Okay.
And I left Edgar's. I went to Spaces Colleges, and from there I went to Intel Holdings.
I'm just trying to square this. You were in Edgar's, now Spaces College.
Yeah,
These are different companies.
yeah, they are indeed.
Yeah, so what sort of things were you doing in
Well,
those organizations?
Edgar's a retail outfit.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was in retail management at Edgar's.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I left Edgar's. Unceremoniously though, I must admit, because there was so much issues of tribalism.
All right. Yeah.
And I had a fight with some middle management guys, and the fight was over the fact that I think I was too resistant
To what?
to their agenda.
Which was?
No, they were bringing people from outside,
right.
to come and take over jobs,
Yeah.
And they would force you. It's either you belonged to, one group, or another. And there were two factions. You know, you had the Mashonaland West faction and you had the Masungo faction.
Okay.
So it was either you belonged to the Masungo faction or you belonged to the Zulu faction. So I never saw eye to eye with either groups, you know. So they tried to get rid of me, to send me to go and manage or supervise a branch outside Bulawayo.
Okay.
My agenda was here. So I could tell that the whole idea was designed to remove me from the center of power, where I was in charge.
Okay.
Of also extending the facility of contract work, casual work to some of our people from the region.
Yeah.
But they bring in people from outside, so then they tried to. It was promotion by elimination.
Yeah.
They wanted to send me to Kwelu.
I mean,
I refused.
You have already touched a very pertinent issue, particularly in the region of Matabeleland.
Yeah.
If you stand up for the rights of the people of Matabeleland, be it employment rights, you are viewed as a tribalist. What's your view on that?
I think we have a problem as a people. And the problem is that we have adopted our own definition of tribalism in Zimbabwe, which is not orthodox. Yeah. So meaning people will view us as Amandebele. They view us as a tribe, and we also view Amashona as a tribe. But the truth of the matter is, as the Ndebele people, we are a nation comprised of a multitude of tribes.
Yeah.
The Shona people, as we know them today, they are also a nation by the making of the colonialists.
Yeah.
And they have got their own tribes. And I think they're about you will have the Sena, the Njanja, the Korekore, the Zezuru, and so on and so forth. So they also form their own nation. So now I want us to be clear that are we going to use the term tribalism as it is currently used in Zimbabwe, or I think stick to the orthodox definition?
No, I think it would be best for us to use it as the majority of people are using it, so that people can understand exactly what is going on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I had asked you, what's your view on that, in terms of if you are from Matabeleland and you stand for the rights of the people, particularly the employment sector, you are viewed as a tribalist. Then I asked you, what is your view on that?
I think we need to be clear that we are a people who deserve to be respected. We are people who deserve to respect, as we have always respected. And I would expect a situation where if there's employment opportunities in a place such as Bulawayo, appreciating that Bulawayo is cosmopolitan, but we must understand that the nature of a cosmopolitan city means that you would have people coming in from elsewhere who should also have the right to access employment wherever they are, but it must be on merit. There are situations where you would find a person coming in as a general hand to work at a supermarket in the heart of Bulawayo, and that person does not have even O levels, but you have got a child, you live in Makokova, you've got a child who can work at Macro as a general hand. Why wouldn't you find it appropriate that Macro employs your child rather than employing someone who come from outside Bulawayo to come and take over that job? And that person does not have the qualifications that your child has. So I think we need to understand that my point is, let's avail opportunities to locals. Where we are unable as a local authority, as a district, as a province to provide employment or to provide employees to the potential employer, who in most cases will be private sector and the government, then there's no problem with the potential employer resorting to bringing in exotic employees or bringing in people from other regions to come into cover employment. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't believe in tribalism. I'm not a tribalist. I'm born and rooted in Zapu. I'm born to Zapu, to a Zapu family.
Yeah.
My father was the chairman of Zapu, responsible for logistics, the whole of Matabele and North, and we have that background where tribalism in our family was punishable. If you were heard uttering any tribal word, any denigrating word, on anyone, you would know that it was coming your way.
Yeah.
So I'm that kind of a person.
Okay.
Whose background in terms of appreciation and the way how I look at the issue of tribalism is influenced by, one, the way how my parents viewed the issue of tribalism. Number two, informed by the upbringing that we have in Zapu, where Zapu was a party for everyone, irrespective and regardless of who you were or where you were from.
Yeah.
So my view on tribalism is predicated on what I just given.
Okay. Yeah. You have mentioned merit. That's one concept that I think is misused sometimes. I would like us to touch on it maybe later, but for now, you were giving us your chronology.
Ivoire Mashlabezu Cultural Society, and we had our patron was the late Dr. Joshua Gomo, and Ivoire Mashlabezu Cultural Society, Cultural Association or Society was really an organization that we fought so hard to bring into being. We worked on that. It was a committee of four. There were four of us in the committee that founded Ivoire Mashlabezu.
Who were the other committee members?
There was Metuseli Mpofu. He lives in Chabalala. He is still alive. There was the late George Moyo. If you remember the film Shaka the Zulu, which was shot in Bulawayo, the man who acted as Chaka then, that was George Moyo. Then there was Mapendula. Mapendula was a traditionalist. He was a traditional. He was a herbalist. He was a herbalist. The same applies to George Moyo. Okay. Mapendula was a herbalist. He was a gynecologist. He was a traditional gynecologist. So the four of us, we were constituted into a committee that was to spearhead the formation of Ivoire Mashlabezu, which was an organization that gave birth to the current wave of Twagazi and Matabele nationalism.
So did you say this Ivoire Mashlabezu Association was formed around 1990s?
It was formed towards the end of 1990.
All right.
Yeah. It was formed towards the end of 1990. And unfortunately, the bulk of the people who were there at the time when we formed Ivoire Mashlabezu, they are deceased. So
what was his aim? Was it a traditional organization? Was it a political, civic organization? What was his aim? What were his aims?
The basic idea or the ethos of having this organization or this association society, Ivoire Mashlabezu Cultural Society, was to try and conscientize and preserve our identity as a people. That was the prime agenda. Whether we did that economically, politically, it didn't matter at all.
Okay.
But we had seen and we had numerous meetings that culminated in the agreement that we should form an organization that will spearhead the protection of our identity as Ndebele people. And we were under a barrage of criticisms and under a barrage of attack from some individuals who were actually implementing the 1979 document in Matabele. So we came across that document And it was necessary that we had to counter that document. We had to try and stop,
So are you talking about the grand plan?
Yes, that's the grand plan.
Because many people are saying that is a myth, that is the effect.
Yeah, you see, the issue, Nkala, is this. There are people who have convinced other people that the grand plan is a document that was authored by Magonya. To an extent that at some public meeting in Bulawayo, I know there was a gentleman who was an MP in Bulawayo. There was a review of that document, and the review of that document, one Mr Swanda, he was an MP in Bulawayo. He was actually telling people that
You are the one.
it's Magonya who reviewed this document. This is a product of Magonya. But look, the issue is this. We are a nation that has been under attack. We are a nation that is viewed with so much suspicion and skepticism, and we are people who by right are not supposed to be existing in our current being with our current identity. But we have fought hard against that. We have birthed quite a lot of organizations, and so we have influenced the formation of other organizations that have been so deliberate in the way how they have approached the issue of trying to reverse the effects of the 1979 Grand Plan. So that was Vukan Mashlarizulu. And I was the Deputy Secretary General of the organization. And I think I was the youngest person in that organization. So, and at the same time, I was the chairman of the youth wing of Vukan Mashlarizulu. And then,
so who was the president or the chairperson?
No, it didn't have a president. Vukan Mashlarizulu was a cultural organization to begin with. Now, with our patron was Dr. Joshua Nkomo.
So what does that mean if you say someone is a patron of an organization?
Well, he wasn't taking part in the day-to-day activities, but it's someone whom we had honored. We knew that if he were to be part of us, he will bring in, some kind of support for our organization.
But did he know that he was the patron of this organization?
Yes, he did, even including the late Tenjwe Lesabe. There's a place in Mat South called Nsindeni, where Dr. Joshua Nkomo had given us land to build a cultural center. You should talk to people like Patti Sanyati, because I was with Patti Sanyati.
All right.
Yeah, I was with Patti Sanyati. Now it was.
If you say you were with Patti Sanyati, you mean at Vukan Mashlarizulu?
Yeah, in Vukan Mashlarizulu.
All right. Yeah.
So it is at that time, as the youth, that the late educationist in Ndimande, the father to Boniface in Ndimande, he actually asked me to look for youths and bring a lot of youths into Vukan Mashlarizulu. And then I did work very tirelessly with my cousin, Dr. Samuel Hate. So we worked very hard to try and bring in the youths into Vukan Mashlarizulu. And so eventually we formed Imbova Mashlarizulu. So the name Imbova Mashlarizulu, I did not denominate the organization. It is the educationist in Ndimande who gave me the name Imbova. So we then we brought the youths together.
So the Imbova organization was meant for the youth?
It was a youth wing.
It was a youth wing of
Vukan Mashlarizulu.
Okay.
That is where you see the coming in of the likes of Undota Love Momwe, the former Speaker of Parliament. He is the gentleman who came in, and we put him in as the president of Imbova Mashlarizulu. And then, because I was the leader of the youth in the main wing of Vukan Mashlarizulu. So Ndimande was of the view that if I took up the leadership together with Patisa, they were of the view that if I took up the leadership of Imbova Mashlarizulu, the general organization that is Vukan Mashlarizulu could see me as forming a splinter organization.
Okay.
So then it was at the advice of the two that we then brought in Mr. Love Momoyo to become the president of Imbova Mahlabezulu. Then I remained as the founding treasurer general of Imbova Mahlabezulu.
Imbova, did it have its own constitution?
Yeah, we did.
Did it have different objectives to Vukan Mahlabezulu?
No, we didn't. We fed into the broader objectives of the main wing, Vukan Mahlabezulu. But then, as you know and appreciate youths, we're very energetic, and we were seeing some things as not very vibrant, So we decided to push hard, and we had some sad developments along the way, where some people left, in the main wing of Vukan Mahlabezulu, elders there, they started fighting, and I remember at some point in time, I think we lost about 4 traditional healers in a row, Yeah, they died in a row. So, so there's a lot that happened during that time. Now, and Imbova Mahlabezulu, went into some kind of a lull, But, we were there. Yeah. We were there, and we must give credit due to Dr. Samuel Hade.
Okay.
Yeah, because people don't understand. People don't know how how invaluable he's been to the cause of Mtwagazi and in particular in Zimbabwe at large.
Yeah.
So eventually we had to regroup again. We would wake up from this slumber.
Yeah.
And then one of my cousins, Mr. Likwakama, I'm sure you know Likwakama from Highlanders. Yeah. So he was also one guy who was very, very instrumental in the revival, in reviving, Imbova into a vibrant organization. I remember for a fact that the first meeting that we had for Imbova, we convened it at Newman Hall, the museum in Bulawayo.
Okay.
And no one was funding the organization then. I was funding it for my salary.
Okay.
So, and then Uli called also come in from time to time. He would chip in every time when he got paid. Yeah. Because we were having our meeting last Friday of every month. Okay. So Uli would come in, and he's the one who actually facilitated the meeting that we had, the first meeting that we had at the Newman Hall. He paid for the venue. I printed all the material, and I did the invitation of all the speakers who came in there. Okay. And one of our breaking ice speakers was the late Anyani, who former governor of Matebele North, Welshman Mapena.
Oh, okay.
So that's the kind of
yeah. But maybe just briefly, this is the last question about Imbova. What sort of achievements do you think you did?
And Imbova?
Yeah, under Imbova.
We didn't give birth to MTC. I want you to understand this quite well. But MTC was founded on the backdrop of the popularity of Imbova. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, because Imbova had become almost a parliament, sort of. Every month you would know that come end of the month, last Friday of the month, we are converging at the Bulawayo City Hall. Okay. And there's a meeting where we had more than 12,500 people. In the large city hall, You could, if you go back into the history of the current activism, I do not think that there is anyone who can mention any organization that influenced their current being or their current thinking about Mtwagazi or about the survival of the Matebele nation more than what Imbova did. And it was all over. I mean, talk of Edson Zopo, the late, who refused anyway to come and grace the occasion. But even the late president, Mugabe, if you talk to some journalists, they will tell you how he used to talk about Imbova. He believed that this is what one journalist told me. He accompanied Mugabe to Kenya. One journalist, he's a doctor, is here. He was telling me that Bob was actually asking him about me and the organization, because he was viewing us as his major threat than the MTC.
Then it sounds like this organization was very strong. Then what happened?
We had a problem,
Mhm.
but the state security, they were honest.
Yeah.
I remember one time they came to my office.
Mhm.
So the intention was to abduct me. I think there were about 18 of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was saved by my secretary and the lady who used to be our general hand,
Mhm.
So those are the people who actually, saved me.
Yeah.
Then I had to make noise.
Mhm.
I had to make noise. So there's a reporter from the Financial Gazette. I think it was I think it's Dumsani Mulea,
Mhm.
who picked up a story about the attempted abduction
Mhm.
of Magonya in the office. So he read a very, very short piece on the Financial Gazette.
Mhm.
And I had to phone almost every organization that I could think of. I remember at one point in time, I had even to phone. I picked the directory in the office. I looked for the president's office.
Okay.
So I would phone the president's office from my office
Mhm.
and wanting to speak to the Minister of State Security. And they will ask you what the problem is. I'll tell them what my problem.
Mhm.
It was very difficult.
Yeah.
Every time I come to the office in the morning, there will be security agents.
Mhm.
They will be coming to my office in and out,
Yeah.
in and out. So life became unbearable. And then there's a lot that happened after that.
Okay.
And I was then summoned to come to Magnet House.
Okay. Mhm.
They summoned me to report at Magnet House, and so I refused.
Mhm.
I told them that if they wanted to talk to me, I have an office.
Yeah.
They should come to my office or they come to my house.
Mhm.
So they said to me, no, we can't come to your office and we can't come to your home. We want you to come to our office.
Okay.
We will meet any demand that you have.
Mhm.
I remember the guy, he was a director, he was some director of sort of CIO in Matibele in Bulawayo.
Okay.
His surname was Mfunda.
Mhm.
So he phoned me and he gave me assurances. So I gave him a condition that they allow me to bring whoever I want
Okay.
and no one should be harassed.
Yeah.
But they gave me one condition.
Mhm.
That the only condition that you have to meet is that anyone whom we are bringing with, or we are coming with, they must bring with them their ID.
Okay.
So we all had our IDs.
Yeah.
So I then organized Zimbabwe Human Rights, CCJP. I got some BBC, journalists. I got my cousin Kwakama was there, and then I had Dumsani Mpofu, and I can't remember the other person. Then there's a lady called Tisetso Makurane.
Okay.
She's now Mrs. Russell.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think she's the one who was dispatched to come and be part of the delegation. I can't remember whether it was by Zimbabwe Human Rights or it was CCJP.
Mhm.
But no, those people, they helped me a lot.
Yeah.
So we went into Magnet House, the Zapo building. We went into Magnet House, and when we got there, they didn't search us.
Yeah.
No, they only asked us to produce our IDs. And so, no, we went through some, buildings, some floors into,
Yeah.
within the building, and eventually we got to, I can't remember whether it's the 4th floor or the 5th floor,
Mhm.
but it was a very spacious and, opulent office,
Yeah.
And you had this guy sitting there. He introduced himself as Mfunda.
Mhm.
So he asked who was who, and I said, no, I told you, there's no need for you to know who is who here.
Yeah.
So I'm Magonya, I'm the person that you're after.
Yeah.
So I brought in my colleagues.
Mhm.
And then I introduced the BBC reporter as my armpit.
Okay.
And then, but Tisetso had to uncover herself. She had to
Okay.
remove the cover. She said, no, look, they have to know me. So she introduced herself
All right.
as a person from the human rights. So then there was, together with that CIO director, Mr.
Yeah.
Mfunda,
Yeah.
there was his deputy.
Okay.
His deputy, I can't remember the first name,
Mhm.
but he was a Mlambo.
Okay.
Yeah, so then I asked him, well, what exactly is the problem? Because you seem to be after me, you are chasing me with your Peugeot 404 GRs and stuff like that. What exactly is the problem? Because we had survived I think we had survived 3 assassination attempts before.
Okay.
Yeah, but one of our colleagues, they finally hit him.
Okay.
Yeah. So then he told me that I was creating some problems for them. And I asked him, what exactly is the problem? Because all I'm doing, I have invited Kangai to come and address the meeting. I have invited Innocent Kala. They've attended. Kangai was actually on his way to the meeting.
Okay.
Then he was actually intercepted before he got to the People's Parliament in the large city hall. And that day we had booked the small city hall. Because what was happening is that every time when they got to know when the Imbovane meeting was going to be, they would try to go and book the venue ahead of me.
Oh, okay.
So we tried to so we'll get the small city hall, try whatever the little that we could, and eventually we suffered some infiltration, very serious ones. And what may be interesting is this. At some point in time, I was invited. There's a gentleman who phoned me. This gentleman was called Andrew Daunashi. So he phoned me and requested to have a meeting with me.
Yeah.
But I was at work, so I told him that I could only be free after 7. And so I then liaised with my colleagues within Imbovane.
Yeah.
So we had to attend that meeting. I went to that meeting with some of our great heroes. I talk of the people like George Mkhwanazi.
Okay.
I had Joshua Mahambi.
Okay.
I had Wekthemba Swindi.
Yeah.
And so we went into the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Zimbabwe, ELF, something like that.
Okay.
And so we met Andrew Daunashi there. And it was at that meeting that I think he had been sent to come and try and find a way of coming into the organization.
Okay.
So, and you will see as events unfold that eventually he is the person who actually almost nearly paralyzed us, because now I met one of the guys who was working with Andrew Daunashi here, who was actually given the bags of money to come and bribe Imbovane. And so they had identified that George Mkhwanazi was impossible.
Yeah.
They could not work with him. They had identified that Magonya was impossible. They could not work with him. And Mkhambi was also a recalcitrant in as far as they are concerned. So they couldn't work with the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Now they found their ways. They booked some of my guys without my knowledge at some hotel in Vic Falls. So they were asked to attend a meeting in Vic Falls. So they went to the Vic Falls, and when they got to Vic Falls, this guy who is here, he's the one who actually handed over the money to them. Yeah. And from that time onwards, they would dictate to us what Imbovane should do. And Josh wasn't that active in Imbovane though, but myself and Mkhwanazi, we resisted by all means necessary. So this is what the person who actually handed over the money was telling me here. He's here, he's one of us. I mean, we meet him at meetings from time to time, but the problem is we don't know these people. So, So, and then, it came a time when there was to be a Kukulaundi compensation committee. And Mugabe, I'm told that he actually instructed John Gomo that Imbovane must provide the secretariat to that committee. And that committee was to be chaired by John Gomo, and then to include people like, Johnson Mkandla and so on and so forth. But, because of the history that we had, and we knew where this thing was, or that thing was actually taking us to, myself and George Mkhwanazi, we refused to be part of it. So, and then eventually, the late Wekthemba Swindi, who was the Imbovane president, he had to come clean. He came to me and, we said, and, he told me how things had happened and what had happened. And he gave me his regrets, and, and the sad thing was the way how the government had actually dispatched intelligence officers around us. I'm sure if you haven't heard about the Holiday Inn incident in Harare.
No,
okay. What these guys were doing, they were monitoring my box at the post office.
Okay.
And most of the times, what would happen is that they would take out my mail, and then leave useless mail.
Okay.
So I was invited to Harare by an organization. That organization, it was for days. It was called for days. So, then I had to go with the late Secretary General of Zimbabwe, Mr Magonya, and then I went with Temba Spin. So it was the three of us. So there's a brother of mine, who used to work for National Blankets. So he drove us to the airport.
Okay.
Dropped us at the airport, then we flew to Harare. And then when we got to Harare, the meeting was chaired by Paul Temba Nyat.
Okay.
Yeah. So that hero of ours, he was the one chairing the meeting.
Yeah.
And then at midnight, there were people came to knock at my door.
Yeah.
And then there were three of them. It was the late Kempton Makamure, Margaret Dongo, she's alive.
Okay.
Then there was another guy, I can't remember what is that, but he's a Kumpo guy. They came to knock at my door, and then they told me that there were people wanting to see me at the Newlands in Harare. It was the masses. They passed a resolution, but when we meet them, it was at the end of May 1998. They were very specific, they were very clear and specific. That we want ZAPU revived.
Okay.
We want ZAPU revived. We want ZAPU out of the Unity Accord.
So
when we meet next time,
were you a member of MDC?
No.
Okay.
I was.
Then with this resolution of reviving ZAPU,
yes.
where did it come from?
It was taken by the people.
It
was taken by the people who had attended Imbova Mahlabe's meeting at the large city hall. The last meeting that we had end of May. So they had actually done the same. They tried to do the same in February, but we couldn't, promise that we will execute that resolution.
Yeah.
But every time when we had our meetings, I remember one meeting where John Komo came in, if you remember, when there's a lady called Sakile Nkomo, who actually, I can't remember whether Sakile Nkomo or it's a Mabena, who actually asked John Komo if he could be recycled in Norton, because there were too many people coming in from outside Matebeleland to be recycled here. And at that time, I was also working hand in hand with Ingama Settlers. They were very pivotal in the support for Imbova.
Okay.
So I worked very well with Ingama. Their chairman was Masu.
Yeah.
I think his name is Fania Masu.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a resolution was taken. But when you meet next time, we want you to come here telling us that you are working on reviving ZAPU.
Yeah.
So we engaged on some outreach with Konti Mhlanga and Dr. Temba Dlodlo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then we had a lot of guys coming in. You can think of anyone who was meaningful in Matebeleland at that time in terms of in the civic organizations.
Yeah.
You talk of the likes of Cindy Somas Visam, Khululi Nyati, Dr. Samkeli Khatebe. He has always been consistently there.
Yeah.
You've got Joshua Mhambi, you've got our heroes such as George Mkwanas.
Yeah.
So we moved along.
Yeah.
Township by township. Having small gatherings. Asking people, telling people, this is what Imbova has for you. People resolved that you want your party revived. Do you want it? What can we do? And there was one great man called Spandwaini Matema. That man was very, very, very pivotal also. In the organization of these township meetings.
Okay.
So we went around with Conti and so on and so forth. And Dr. Temba Dlodlo, he was very supportive.
Yeah.
So eventually, people decided that no, it has to happen.
Yeah.
So there were two. It was to happen in two phases. The first phase was the revival of ZAPU.
Yeah.
The second phase, which was to occur in 2004, was to go and extricate PF ZAPU from the Unity Accord.
Okay.
And that phase didn't arrive.
Yeah. So was ZAPU revived? Because I remember it's still around 1999, 2000. There was ZAPU 2000.
No. There was ZAPU 2000 in 1998, 99. ZAPU 2000 was a mobilization kind of pressure group that had been denominated 2000 by the late Reverend Daniel Mkwananzi. It was a movement that was birthed with the sole purpose of reviving ZAPU.
Okay.
So
So it wasn't best from Imbovan.
No.
The idea of reviving ZAPU.
No, the idea of reviving ZAPU was given birth at an Imbovane platform. And then when people got together as a mobilization team, the late Reverend Mkwananzi denominated that organization that had gotten together with the purpose of reviving ZAPU. They denominated it ZAPU 2000.
All right.
When ZAPU was revived in 1999 at the St. Mary's Congress in Bulawayo, ZAPU 2000 ceased to exist.
Okay.
So it was dissolved when ZAPU was revived. From 1999 into the local government elections in September, into the parliamentary elections in June, into the presidential election in 2002, it was all ZAPU.
Who was the leader? Who was the president?
It was Mahle, it was Agrippa Mahle.
Oh, Agrippa Mahle.
Yes,
okay.
Agrippa Mahle.
Yeah. Okay. Because of what has happened since independence, let's say from 1990
Yes.
and 1980, when you revived ZAPU, what was your political thinking at that time? Were you saying Matabeleland should be separate, should be independent, should be federal, or devolution? What was it that you were spearheading as ZAPU at that time?
The political ideology that we sought to pursue at that time, it was a federal setup of governance. That is what we were trying to push. And if you look at the posters that we did in 99, the posters that we did in 99 for the local government, the posters that we did in 2000 for the parliamentary elections, you will find that all of them, there was federalism. It was all federalism, and it wasn't devolution. It was federalism.
Okay.
I'll tell you two things that probably viewers also need to understand. There are two people in the history of that country whom we should celebrate in life and in death when it comes to federalism and devolution.
Yeah.
Post 1980, the father of federalism in Zimbabwe is the late Agrippa Mahle. The father of devolution in Zimbabwe is Dr. Themba Dlodlo.
Okay.
You can't talk of devolution in Zimbabwe and leave Dr. Themba Dlodlo. No, you can't. In as much as we can't talk about federalism and leave Mahle.
Yeah.
Yes, me and you know that the late Chief Kaisa Dwayne also, he was to some certain extent previously either a confederalist or a federalist. But what we should know is that post-independence, there are two people who have tried to devise a political ideology that will serve the people of Matabeleland, their identity. And that is Dr. Themba Dlodlo and the late Mr. Agrippa Mahle.
So these ideologies, maybe I don't even want to call it devolution of party and ideology, but an ideology can be anything, as long you conceptualize it the way you want.
Yes.
How would they serve the constituents of Matabeleland within the setup of Zimbabwe?
Let me give you the background of what was common between these two, and the views that we shared as a people. We are people who grew up under oppression. We grew up under oppression during the Smith regime. We grew up under marginalization in the Mugabe regime, the First Republic, let's put it that way. And what ZAPU stood for, ZAPU stood for equal opportunities for all. ZAPU stood for a non-racial, non-tribal, and an equal opportunity for all society. That is what is those are the foundations of ZAPU. And we discovered that what was happening in ZANU ZANU was a party that was bent on pulverizing our identity. They were a party that was bent on eliminating me and you. They were a party that was so anti-Matebele people to an extent that they had to unleash an armed force on civilians. We lost over 40,000 people during the Okurawundi era, and so there was nothing for me and you under ZANU, unless if we had agreed to talk like ZANU, walk like ZANU, behave like ZANU, then they would accept you. For as long as you would come in to further their agenda against the people of Matebeleland, then they had no problem with you. And as a result, this is why you find we have some people from Matebeleland who actually left ZAP and they went into ZANU, not after the unit, before the unity accord. You remember Kwidini crossed the floor with our seat? You remember people like Opet Mpofu, they crossed the floor before the unity accord. So for as long as you were in the very person who was prepared to do as ZANU wanted you to do, that is act against your own people, as long as you are prepared to talk like them, walk like them, sound like them, eat like them, then they would accommodate you. You'll be one of them. You'll be one of theirs.
But so I do not really understand the objectives of ZAP at that time, because you're talking about all these nice concepts. There is no difference between the ZAP of old and this ZAP that you are talking about, that you revived just before 2000. How was it going to defend the identity and the humanity for the people of Matebeleland? How?
Look, comrade. In a democracy, you seek political office through the mandate of the electorate.
Yes.
And it is at the point when they convincingly surrender their sovereignty to you that you can act on their behalf. That is how it works. Now, there is no way we would have been effective in changing or in affecting people's lives without us being in position of making policy, of making the law. So you needed to go into parliament, you need to go into the local authorities as councillors and make bylaws. So there is no other way that was at our disposal other than going through the democratic route. Of course, I mean, look, we're not cowards. We're not cowards. There are a lot of other ways. People could have resorted to taking up arms to correct the injustice that we have suffered. But we opted to go through the peaceful means, that is democratic means. So, by going through the democratic means or the means, so that's how it's been.
All right. So, what happened to the revived ZAP?
Well, it stayed on. It stayed on. I mean, you should know that before that revival, we went into Fortune's Gate. We went about 3 or 4 times. We met with the late Dr. Joshua Nkomo, and we did what we did with his full blessings. And
so are you saying while Mr. Joshua Nkomo was in ZANU PF, he was blessing you to revive ZAP?
The good thing is that Mr. Mkanyeli Kumari is still alive. He's in South Africa. Konti Mhlanga is alive. Is there in Zimbabwe. I was with them. Well, I think unfortunately the late Pigelela Mhlanga is late. Edward Mhlanga is late. The chief, the paramount, what we called him our own paramount chief. Anyway, Chief Nyangazonke is late, and Chais I think is late. There are about 8 of us. So we had to seek his blessings, because you may want to know that people have misconstrued Dr. Joshua Nkomo. They have misconstrued Dr. Joshua. He died a very, very miserable man. All his hopes were dashed, both for the people of Matebeleland and the people of Zimbabwe. His hopes were dashed, by a couple of individuals who were bent on, some agenda which was anti the liberation movement, purpose. So there are things that we have to look into, and I can, comfortably tell you that we did not leave any stone at it. Even the likes of Titi, the late Titi, I mean, in 1999, we approached all of them.
Yeah.
And they told us, no, Monday, Wednesday, Wafana, we are coming. We are coming. We are coming. In 2000,
Yeah.
I stood as a parliamentary candidate for ZAPU in Kulumani constituency.
Yeah.
I contested against Dumiso.
Yeah.
He was standing for ZANU. Gibson Spanda, who was standing for MTC. Tupo Ichubani was standing for Liberty Party. So the four of us, I mean, we were all related.
Yeah.
We were all related. And I remember Gibson Spanda cracking a joke saying to me and to Miso, no, I would win whether you guys want to or not. And that is when Tumiso said, I know. We're not worried, Gibson, because even if MTC had filtered a donkey, the donkey would have beaten us. Yeah. So don't derive much comfort in that. Even a donkey would have beaten us. So with time, some ZAPU stalwarts had already come, but there are people who were key, who should have come with us from the beginning, but they didn't. But we had some ZANU-PF councillors defecting to ZAPU when it was revived. And then, things developed, and when I was whisked out of home, in 2001, beginning.
So if you say you were whisked out of home, what do you mean?
Things developed too fast for me. There was so much harassment. I was being arraigned before the courts on this charge, that charge. They were bringing a lot of charges against me. So when I went to the court and I asked the court if they could bring one of my cases forward, that was the only case.
Were they criminal cases or?
No, they were political. They were political motivated cases. So then, when I was discharged by the magistrate, so I already had been tipped by guys that look, you've got 2 weeks here, you've got to leave. So luckily, everything was in place. And I got assistance from some very helpful guys here and there. When you live with people, it must be good to everyone whom you meet. Take it from me. So I had so much help, not only from the people of Matibela, but even from the people of Mashonaland.
Okay.
Because I had been assigned some security by the state.
Okay.
So they were plainclothes police officers who were always with me wherever I was. After the
so if you say you were assigned, doesn't mean that those
I was given. There were people who were to provide me with security
from the state.
Yeah, from the state, because I had complained to the state that my life was in danger. So they were playing close to a based at Central.
Okay.
So they would dispatch their operatives. And every operative that they dispatched, wherever I was going, you wouldn't know them. But they will come and tell you, we are from Dumbuche.
Okay.
We are from Murabo, or whatever his name was, So you would know what they are there for. So because I had made complaints to the state. Life was unbearable. You go home in the evening or in the morning, you're opening your gate, you're on your way to work. A yellow pigeon passes through your gate, so much that if you had been 2 minutes fast or just 20 seconds faster in closing your gate, you would have you would have died. So life had become so unbearable. But look, we've been through this. So eventually, I was assisted out of the country.
So was it because of your works within ZAPU or in
no
that you continued?
No, it was not. It was not my works within Imovani. It was actually my works within the Matebeleland community.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was almost everywhere.
Yeah.
It was almost everywhere. Talk of I remember on the issue of marginalization of people from Matebeleland. We approached a company which was ZANU-PF had a lot of shares in that company. But it was a company that was based in Bulawayo.
Yeah.
You know, the manager there, the general manager was a white man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were actually forcing them to employ people from outside the region.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make an appointment with that general manager.
Yeah.
I then called in the governor, Mapena.
Mm-hmm.
He came with his Mercedes Benz. I had 3 guys with me.
Yeah.
So we had to, the 5 of us, had to go to that company to see the general manager. And when we got there, some people saw us. And you know, we were to come in, you know, without a lot of people really, you know, seeing us. But unfortunately, some guys who were the security service, I think by the entrance, when they saw who was in the car, and I mean, you know, those government cars, those Mercedes Benz. So we went into the GM's office. We spent about 2 hours then. We had a strategy, agreed with that GM. But if he is to employ anyone, he should first contact us.
Okay.
So, you know, he was a very cooperating man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he would phone me anytime he wanted anyone.
Yeah.
And I had a database of people, you know, seeking employment here and there.
Okay.
So whenever he phoned,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would then resort to recourse to my database, and I would phone Nkala, can you go to such a company tomorrow morning?
Okay.
Go and see this gentleman. There's something that he would want to discuss with you. This is how we got our people employed.
Yeah.
We invented day report.
Mm-hmm.
We invented day report. It was myself, Themba Ngonyama. I was with Themba Swindi.
Mm-hmm.
There was George Mkwanazi, and then we had the Governor Mapena. So
This is surprising because we have never heard about you or any other people invading companies or really engaging them. However, the only organization that maybe we know of that has tried to do that is the MRP. So why your work is not known?
Look, we that's our nature, guy. That's our nature. We are not the kind of people who go and do things and go and stand in the mountain and you know, announce.
But in politics,
Yeah.
you need to publicize what you're doing.
But my belief is this, comrade guy. I derive so much satisfaction from what I do and seeing it succeeding, whether people recognize it or not. I don't mind. For as long as I know that I have done something and I have made an effort to put food on Nkala's table, and Nkala's children are eating. If Nkala opts to tell people where you got that food from, it's up to him, but I won't tell the people. You know, so I mean, these are the values that ZAPU tried to instill in us. These are the values. If people knew Dr. Joshua Nko, you wouldn't be surprised to hear me talking like this. You know, because look, do for people and do not expect people to come back and say to you, thank you, Mr. Nkala. No, do for people. People appreciate it in various ways. You know, so these are things that we've done. There's a lot that we've done. You know, we must give credit to Comrade Nkala. There are people that I cannot finish this interview without you know, mentioning. And you talk of the people like Dr. Edwin Mkwanazi. These are our heroes. You talk of the people like the late Ndema Ngwenya. You speak of the late Kenneth Dlamini. Kenneth Nube and Amos Dlamini. These two, Kenneth Dlamini and Amos Nube, you know that they were run over by CIO, by the CIOs in Bulawayo. So these were members of the Open Forum. And we must give, you know, a lot of respect to the members of the Open Forum as a block. And you know, some of them were surviving. I know we've got Havana, who is at the NAST University. We had Mkandla at UCE United College. We had Mofat Njelezi, who was at the City Council. There's Dr. Themba Dlodlo, and they lost a lot of them. You know, the late Agrippa Madlera. Those are the people who are the heroes of our struggle as the people of Matabeleland. I mean, some of them are living. You've got people like Dr. Mpiesizo Kutuza, Churchill Kutuza. You've got people like Paul Swell.
Yeah.
You've got people like George Mkwanas. You've got people like Dr. Samgele Khatebe.
Yeah.
We talk of the likes of Joshua Mkhambi. You know, these are our heroes. We can say anything.
Yeah.
We can talk anything, talk about anyone. But I can tell you that deep down, if people were to get to know what these people have done,
Yeah.
not for their own families, be afforded an opportunity, an equal opportunity. They are fighting against marginalization. And I support them. I support anyone. It doesn't matter whether you are Karanga, Maniga, Zezuru, Njanja, what have you. As long as you are fighting against marginalization, if there's an injustice that is thrust upon you by the administration, you have to fight against it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't fold your arms when your children are going, without food. They are going without education. When there are no health facilities, you've got no roads, you've got no water. You can't just fold your arms. You have to come up.
You talk so positive about Dr. Joshua Nkomo. But I'm wondering whether the younger generation, they see him in your light, where he's a big man who has done good things, or they see him as someone who capitulated and they sold them out.
No, look, I think people have misconstrued Dr. Joshua Nkomo. And I know where and how. I have heard people saying that Dr. Joshua Nkomo was offered an opportunity that the country be split into two, and that he leads Matebeleland, and Dr. Joshua Nkomo refused that. And they told, I mean, I've heard that he was offered that by Lord Carrington. I met the late Lord Carrington, I think about 4, 5, 6 times.
Okay.
And one of the questions that I sought clarity on was on whether he had done that to Nkomo. And Lord Carrington told me point blank that he didn't offer Nkomo that.
Okay.
And so people think that Nkomo was offered an opportunity to take over Matebeleland and he refused. But that's not true. If ever there was such an offer made to Nkomo, it was made by Smith.
Yeah.
But we must understand that Dr. Joshua Nkomo was leading a nationalist movement, and the movement had its own agenda of building a new nation. A new nation that was to be born out of the Matebele nation and the Mashona nation. They wanted to bring these two nations together and fuse them and build one nation. So, you know the requisites of building a nation. You must have something in common. There must be something in common that permeates across all of you. You must be people who have got a particular identity that cuts across. There are elements, there are attributes of a nation. But this Dr. Joshua Nkomo and his colleagues, they were bent on bringing together all Zimbabweans into forming a new rainbow nation. However, we are angry today, or the youths are angry today, or some elders are angry today that Nkomo sold out, because one, Nkomo shouldn't have allowed his executive to take decisions that they took about ZAPU. Because look, out of the top 6 in his executive, he was the only person from Matebeleland. So the rest were from Mashonaland. And mind you, people need to understand that Dr. Joshua Nkomo became the leader of ZAPU, a party which was formed by the people of Mashonaland, and they actually approached his father, asked his father for him to lead it. And you remember that the meeting that they held in Harare, I think it was in Highfield, where they elected the president of the party. I think he beat Chikerema, was it Chikerema, by 1 vote.
Okay.
So, and it was people from Mashonaland and some people from Matebeleland who were there at that meeting. But there were more people from Mashonaland than people from Matebeleland. And those are the people who brought Dr. Joshua Nkomo into the leadership of the party. So,
later on you see the composition of his executive. It was well balanced. It was well balanced. At times it was skewed or tipped in favor of people of Mashonaland in terms of positions of authority. And you come across them. They are very in the Zipra forces. I mean, you had quite a lot of them with senior positions. Almost everyone was once Zipra, the incumbent, the president. They defected. People like Rex Nongo, they were Zipra, they left. You know, so a lot of them were part of us. Then, and I mean, people, we all know what happened after that. So I think people should understand that the agenda that Dr. Joshua Nkomo had, I think he's a man who wanted to see it through. But unfortunately, he didn't realize that he was ambushed by cowards. He had people who were greedy. He had people who had been dispatched into his executive to come and monitor his activities and his agenda, so that at the same time, these people were fitting in, their kith and kin about what ZAP was doing, what ZAP was planning. So these are things that even you or me would have avoided. If you had come into, where Dr. Joshua Nkomo was, under the same condition and the same background as Dr. Joshua Nkomo, probably you would have done the same. But here is the other area where people sound very unhappy about the late Joshua Dr. Nkomo. It's only when it comes to the Intumbani fiascos. There are some people who believe that Nkomo should have let the army, the Zipra forces, run over. He shouldn't have stopped the Zipra forces. And there are some today who even tell you that if at all they had anticipated what would come after, they should have summoned enough guards to shoot down the helicopter that Nkomo was using, announcing to Zipra forces at Intumba that they should put down their arms. But that's the benefit of hindsight. But look, I don't think that it is fair for people to be so castigating of Dr. Joshua Nkomo as if they knew exactly what it is that he was standing for. Look, blame me if you sit in agenda with me and we agree on the path that we should follow, and I deviate from that path without consulting you, without us coming up with an agreed position, then you can blame me. But
having said that, a political party of the stature of ZAPU, with its intelligence, military wing, and with the things that happened in places like Nkakao and whatever, they saw it coming.
And then?
I want you to take it from there.
Look, I've said to you that what ZAPU stood for and what ZAPU sought to achieve during that particular era of the liberation struggle, and ZAPU's agenda post-independence, one thing you should realize, Nkomo was a peaceful man. Nkomo was not a man of war. No. He had no choice but to command Zipra. But if he had his own way, Zipra wouldn't have been there. Nkomo would have been happier with a negotiated settlement, like what other nations did. But we were forced. He was forced to actually go into the bush. He was forced to go into a guerrilla war, and he was forced to actually form Zipra because the environment dictated that there must be a military wing. But otherwise, Nkomo was a loving man. He was a man who was, to some extent, if you take your time to read through and understand Nkomo, you will see a replica of King Lopengula. You will see a replica of King Mzilikazi, in the sense that Nkomo was a nation builder. He was a nation builder, and he wanted to build a nation. If Nkomo had gotten into power in 1980, me and you wouldn't be here today. Because Zimbabwe would be probably a first world country today. But unfortunately, the strike was hijacked by hyenas. And when you hear Nkomo talking about his vision of a one Zimbabwe, one nation, a nation that doesn't know any difference between a man and a woman, a non-sexist nation, a non-tribal, non-racial, a nation where opportunities are availed to all.
Yeah.
What else do you want? A nation where we respect the rule of law, a nation where we've got love for each other, a nation where we respect each other, a nation where no army can be unleashed on people, a nation where no one should disappear because of their political views, a nation where no police officer should be seen harassing people because of their political views, a nation where people will be given the right to express their views, to demonstrate, for as long as the demonstrations are done in line with the agreed laws, there's no problem. This is what Dr. Joshua Nkomo stood for. When you talk of Nkomo's one nation Zimbabwe, that is what Nkomo meant. And I can tell you, that is exactly what King Lopehula stood for. That is exactly what the founding father, King Mzilikazi, had. And if you look at the way how Mzilikazi structured the nation, the Matebele Kingdom, look at the way how Lopehula structured the Matebele Kingdom. And if you had uttering a derogatory term about any tribe that constituted or that was a constituent of the Ndebele Kingdom, you would pay dearly for that. You would pay dearly. This is what Dr. Joshua Nkomo wanted to this is the Zimbabwe that Dr. Joshua Nkomo wanted to create.
Okay.
And that is the Zimbabwe. That is the Zimbabwe which, in my view, was possible, but which, in my view today, may not be possible in the manner with which Dr. Joshua Nkomo envisaged it.
That's the question that I wanted to ask you. Taking into account, considering what has happened since 1980, do you think that one nation's they started propagating the issue of tribalism as is defined in Zimbabwe, being anti-Ndebele, okay? Yeah.
So, and when we talk of people who are anti-Ndebele, we're not talking about people who are anti, people for, Nguni extraction. We're talking about anyone who is from Matebele land. Because our diction of Ndebeles, that the Ndebeles as a nation, we have three types. We've got an indigenous Ndebele, we've got Ndebele Lenhla, Ndebele Mzansi. So Singaman Ndebele song. And we should not allow people to come in and split hairs and start dividing us. Once we allow that, that then fits into the broad agenda of those mischievous elements who were in ZANU in 1980. Now, what I'm trying to put across is this: the unfortunate part is that the leadership of 1980, they fermented tribalism. They started, programs that were designed to make sure that the people of other regions, they dominate you and me and anyone else in the Matebele region. And as a result, their children, who were born 1980, 1979, or just towards the independence and post-independence, they have grown up with that mind, that mentality, that Ndebeles, should not be allowed to exist. People of Matebele are dangerous. People of Matebele, we should not allow them to positions of authority. They should be subservient to us. And this is the mentality that those who were there in 1980 or born post-independence, this is the kind of mentality that they've grown up with. And as a result, this is why you find today, you hear a 30-year-old telling you that Ndewere cannot be a president in Zimbabwe. It is not something which they've just collided with. No, this is how they've been indoctrinated from birth. So you're talking about the generation that is 40 years now, 45 years. Some of them are my age. So you are faced with a situation where you've got these people who don't think that you can bring anything meaningful on their table, but they are at liberty to actually engage and use you for the benefit of themselves and their progeny. You must discard your language, you must discard your identity and be like them. This is the mentality, this is the unfortunate part that we have. However, there are some of them who believe that some bit of meritocracy should be allowed. And there are some, I'm sure you've heard some clips that have been making rounds here, where you find there's a guy from, he calls himself a Shona person, and he says that the problem that Zimbabwe has are the Shona people. He says the problem are his people. But how they are a problem, he tells you. But whether we share the same views with him or we don't, but here is my answer to the question that I said we should not go without answering. I think a one nation in Zimbabwe is possible. It is possible. And a one nation in Zimbabwe can only be ushered in. I might be wrong, but I believe that the only party that can usher in a new Zimbabwe is ZAPU. A new one nation Zimbabwe can only be ushered in by ZAPU. Let me say this.
All right.
I think it's part 5 of the Zimbabwe Constitution has to some extent entrenched the thinking that Ndebelés should never lead Zimbabwe. So I think a one nation Zimbabwe can only be possible if the person at the helm, if the first person can be me or you, can be you or anyone else of our extraction. Zimbabwe can be a one nation Zimbabwe if we can have a rotational president system where if we have a president for 2 terms from a Tebeleland, the next president should come from a Shonaland for 2 terms. In the absence of that, I think it is clear, Comrade Ngada, that we may not survive long as a sovereign Zimbabwe currently configured. But that is for another day. But the issue is we can have a one nation Zimbabwe if we were to be led in the immediate by a president from a minority. And because we have seen it elsewhere. Look at in Rwanda, what a president from a minority has done for the country. And I'm giving you this answer with an experience that we've all seen in Rwanda. So we are in a very difficult situation. And I don't know what it will take to convince the post-independence generation from the Mashonaland nations that Ndebelés are a people who can do better. But I know that the bulk of them, they do know now that in terms of leadership in administration, we don't learn it. It is inborn in us. We can do far much better than them. Some of them do know that. But I wonder if there are any significant at all in terms of numbers.
You've raised an issue about if ZAPU could lead the country, or is the party you feel can achieve that concept that Joshua Nkomo fought for or wanted to see in Zimbabwe. We know the current state of ZAPU. So how can ZAPU do that?
It will take a lot. It will take a lot. But I think if ZAPU can find an appropriate person to replace or to take over from Dr. Joshua Nkomo, I am sure that we may because we're running out of time here, we may find a situation where probably the other part of the country begins to understand that ZAPU is a party for everyone, that ZAPU is a party that while it is committed in addressing or undoing the impacts of the Grand Plan, the 1979 Grand Plan, it's
and whether it is possible for ZAPU right now to bring about that vision that Joshua Nkomo espoused for a one nation Zimbabwe.
As I had indicated to you earlier on, that there is a possibility, and that hinges on whether ZAPU can find a leader who can replace Dr. Joshua Nkomo.
If you say Dr. Joshua Nkomo,
Yeah.
because we know the last leader was Dr. Dumiso Tavengo.
Yes.
So why do you skip Tavengo?
No, I'm not skipping to Mr. Tavengo. No, but I think what we're talking about here is the vision of ZAPU as espoused by Dr. Joshua Nkomo.
Okay.
Okay. So
Is it different from what ZAPU under Dr. Dumiso Tavengo espoused?
well, not they're not diametrically the same, but I mean, you know, can we zero on the ZAPU, Dr. Joshua Nkomo's
That's
vision
fine.
of one Zimbabwe?
Let's talk
Yeah.
about that one.
Because what probably we need to emphasize is this. Nkomo's vision of one nation Zimbabwe is a vision that can also be equally achieved when confined to Matabeleland as a one nation Matabeleland. What Nkomo wanted to achieve for the broader Zimbabwe, we can still achieve it for Matabeleland, because Matabeleland is a nation. Now, the one Zimbabwe, one nation agenda, as I have said, that this is what Dr. Joshua Nkomo set to achieve. This is what ZAPU fought for. This is what ZAPU always propagated. That we want a non-sexist ZAPU or nation. We want a non-racial nation. We want a non-tribal nation. By non-tribal meaning there is no one who should be given an opportunity on grounds that he belongs to a particular tribe. But we want all tribes in Zimbabwe to have equal access to opportunities in Zimbabwe. And ZAPU believed in a nation where rule of law was for everyone, where the law was for everyone. ZAPU believed in a nation that would fend for itself, provide for itself, and export the surplus. And ZAPU believed that in a normal environment where the government is responsible, the people must hold the government to account. The government must not be accountable to an oligarchy. The government must be accountable to the people. And these are some of the values that ZAPU stood for. Now, the problem is that from 1980, there are people who have been working so tirelessly against the identity of the Ndebele people. Anyone who is identified as Ndebele, anything identified as Ndebele, they have been fighting so tirelessly to make sure that they don't allow it to succeed. And as a result, the children born to these people in 1980 and just towards independence, some of whom are my age, you know, those born before independence, towards independence, those born immediately at independence and after independence, they grew up in an environment where there was so much hatred for the Ndebele people. To an extent that it is now almost a certainty in Zimbabwe that there is no Ndebele person who can be president. So we have to undo that psychological problem that the people have.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a psychological problem. They have been indoctrinated into believing that that is the status quo, that is how things ought to be.
It seems like you think this indoctrination has only affected those coming from, let's say, Mashonaland Park.
No.
What about
No.
the Ndebeles themselves?
No, I'm not in any way insinuating that. But what I'm saying is, the Ndebele people, you hear them talking about the situation where, look, why should we worry? After all, we'll never rule Zimbabwe. You know, this has not, they have not been indoctrinated to believe so. No, these ones are actually feeling it. It's different from those who are made to believe so. Those who are causing our people never to rise to positions of senior authority or to become the first person in the country. I think it's chapter 5 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. It almost makes it impossible for a person of a Matebele extraction
How
to become a president. I mean, look at the composition of how the president is elected. You know, I mean, for you, Comrade Nkala, to be nominated by Mashonaland Central, Mashonaland West, Mashonaland East as a candidate for the first secretary and the first person in a political party that has got an opportunity to actually ascend to power in Zimbabwe. It is almost impossible. You can go back to what has happened even in the movement for democratic change. You see that the way how things have happened, people tell you that the person who was supposed to be the president of the MDC is the late Gibson Spanda. But Gibson Spanda was overtaken by Morgan Tsvangirai to become the president of MTC because Tsvangirai hailed from Mashonaland and Gibson Spanda was from Matebeleland. And you recall that there was an unfortunate remark that was made by one of our historic colleagues in the political fraternity, who himself alluded to the fact that Ndebeles can never lead any political party in Zimbabwe, but though they later on went on to lead their own political party. But there is that psychological illness that people have, which must be cured. Now, the question that we should attend to is this. Is it possible for that psychological illness to be cured? For Zimbabwe to go back to the value or to those values that were espoused by our liberation war fathers? The unfortunate answer is that at the moment, I think there are more chances of Zimbabwe ceasing to be a two-nation state than they are for Zimbabwe to thrive as a one-nation state. There are very loud and clear calls for the restoration of the sovereign borders of Matebeleland, that Matebeleland must be restored to become a sovereign state on its own. And I mean, we've been through these things together in some meetings, and you would fully understand. We've got some people, who have been there, on this cause and so on and so forth. And the truth is that, as a people, as a nation, people of Matebeleland, they now see more value in them existing as a sovereign state, as a nation on their own, away from Zimbabwe. Not because of their liking, but because of the humiliation, because of the degrading conditions that they've been subjected to by the majority nation that has ruled them from 1980. We have suffered untold marginalization, we have suffered untold genocide, and we have suffered untold humiliation, we are a people that have gone through almost every possible humiliating scenario or situation that you may think of, but here we are still surviving. So the calls for the Matebele people to restore the boundaries as they existed and or to revert back to become a nation state on their own, they are now much more louder than calls for people to work towards a one nation Zimbabwe. But I think there are ways we can, if people are so desirous to remain as part of a one nation Zimbabwe, or if there are people who are still committed in pursuing the agenda of a one nation Zimbabwe, it can be achieved, but it can only be achieved under the circumstances where we have a constitutional framework that facilitates for a rotational presidents, where we have for 2 terms a president coming from the minority. We are called minority in the broader Zimbabwe sense, but we are a majority in our own right. We can have a president coming from Matebeleland for 2 terms, and then from there the next president will go to 2 terms to Mashonaland. We don't care whether it's a Karanga, Maniga, whether it's a Sena, Njanja, Kore, is a Zulu. We don't mind. They will sort themselves out on that. In our nation, we also will sort ourselves out. Whether it is a Tonga, it is a Venda, it is a Kalanga, it is a Sutu, it is a Nambia, it is a Xhosa, or anyone of Nguni extraction taking up the president, we will sort it out amongst ourselves as a nation. If we were to have such a constitutional framework. But unfortunately, the constitution has become so entrenched to an extent that it is almost impossible for me and you to ascend to power, to the position of authority in that country, unless if we were to do it by other means. So that is the situation. But I know that ZAPU as a party is a party that is committed in seeing Zimbabwe thriving. But I believe that whosoever takes over.
So you are talking about the current ZAPU?
Yes.
So what is his ideological leaning now?
So this is where we are. And I think ZAPU prides itself as a non-tribal party. It prides itself as a party that is committed to meritocracy. It's a party that is committed to those core values of humanity and the respect for the rule of law, so much that if anyone who identifies with those values is welcome in ZAPU. But you have to be careful that what you need is a vote, and you need a vote from a person who is subjected to untold suffering, marginalization, etc., by the ruling elite. And this ruling elite, it is known that they belong to a particular clan or a particular nation. And so where does ZAPU fit in? Now it is the responsibility of the next leader to define where ZAPU stands. And whoever takes over as the next leader of ZAPU should understand that ZAPU as a party must aspire for office. And it can either choose to aspire for the national office at presidential level, or it can be pragmatic and aspire to capture the bedrock support of ZAPU, where ZAPU used to be in the past. That is in the 53 constituencies that you have in Matebele and North Matebele and South, in Bulawayo and in the Midlands. Because the challenge that ZAPU faces is this. We have a lot of people who believe that ZAPU can be launched and it can attract votes from Mureo or from wherever. And the question that needs to be, or the reality that needs to be faced is this. You remember that at the height of popularity of ZAPU, where ZAPU had out of the 6 top leaders in its position, 5 of them were from Mashonaland. ZAPU could not win a constituency there. And they will tell you it was because of intimidation, this and that, but we had another election in 1985. And you see that while this ZAPU wants to give its attention to everyone from across the country,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. And ZAPU must pursue that route. But it must be mindful in wasting resources where they will not get anything. So, unless and until the psychology that I have been talking about is reversed,
Yeah.
it will be very difficult for ZAPU to penetrate some of these areas. Because it is the children of those who saw me and you as an enemy who are actually voters today,
Yeah.
who are in leadership position today. And we are gunning for their votes. We're canvassing for them to come to the party. And ask yourself, how possible is that? How feasible is that?
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with ZAPU trying, but it must accept that at some point it has to come face to face with reality. It has to come face to face with reality.
And what is that reality?
Well, it is for the leader. It is for the next leader.
Yeah, I'm not saying you are the leader.
No.
You are aspiring to be the leader.
No,
maybe
no,
you
no.
are, but I don't know.
No.
But what I'm trying to milk from you is to help maybe the person who's going to be the next leader, if there will be any next leader. ZAPU has been seen,
but they will still view ZAPU as a tribal party. But when a party is led by someone like Mr Magonya, they don't consider it a tribal party, because that person, presumably or by their own fertile imaginations, they believe that they are the people. So ZAPU is not a tribal party.
okay, seeing that the political field in Zimbabwe is a minefield. The current ZAPU,
Yes.
how can it maneuver to make things work for the entirety of Zimbabwe? And how can it maneuver things to make them work maybe for the nation of Ntolas? So in short, what I'm trying to ask you is, what's the way forward for Zimbabwe as a nation? And what's the way forward for Ntolas as a nation?
Let me begin by acknowledging that politically we are at crossroads. What I say today may not live to be relevant in the not so long a future, because the political situation in Zimbabwe is very dynamic and it is very uncertain. We don't know where we'll be in the next coming 2-3 months. But that aside, let me come back to your question. What is the way forward for Mtwakazi?
Yeah.
And what's the way forward for Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
And where does ZAPU come in? I think the issue that as a people we have to come to terms with is to understand that there are people today who were with the system yesterday when some of us were calling for the recognition of the efforts of the people of Matabeleland. And they are the very same people who were asking the system to give us a deaf ear. They are the very same people who were being unleashed on us by the system. But I think for the generality of the people of the Matabele nation, the time is approaching where we have to come to terms with the reality and decide as a collective what we want. If the people of Matabeleland were to resolve, and unanimously so, and unequivocally so, that as of today, we, the children of the stars, we resolve that we are taking back our sovereignty from Zimbabwe. We want to leave Zimbabwe and become a sovereign state on our own. If the people of Matabeleland were to resolve to that effect, and they wholly subscribe to the idea, they must be prepared to pursue that idea to the bitter end. And it is an ideal whose time could be now or not long from now. And it is an ideal that as the people of Matabeleland, we should collectively come together and pursue. If the masses were to come to terms and say that is what they want. If the people of Matabeleland were today make a decision that they want to voluntarily become part and parcel of the sovereign Zimbabwe, they must be shepherded in that direction. But they will only do so if they see that there are any benefits accruing to them and they are approaching in the event that they were to voluntarily become a part and parcel of the Zimbabwe state.
But they are. We know that since 1980 they've been part of Zimbabwe.
Yes. Look, they are involuntary decisions that you make. They are voluntary decisions that you will make. And what I would urge people to do for now is that I think everyone should work in tandem with the current efforts that are pursued by the organization called Iputeho.
Okay.
Yes, I think people must take Iputeho with the seriousness that it deserves. So whatever it is that
maybe, because you have mentioned that, maybe if you can just give us a background of what Puteho is.
Well, from my understanding, it is an indaba. It is an indaba.
So a platform.
Yeah, a platform where people of Matabeleland, civic organizations, individuals, and political parties will come together and decide on the way forward for Matabeleland. So,
and what informs that? What's the inspiration?
it is the people's experiences. It is the people's experiences. If you want to, one way of testing that you are colonized, you have to go into government departments, go into the police stations. You find that if you find that people who head these departments, they are all non-indigenous to the people in the area. You should know that you are a people who are colonized. So, I think what the efforts of Iputeho will produce, people will have to go by what Iputeho comes up with. Because it is the people themselves who are coming together. So who am I and who are you to go against the wishes of the masses? If the masses so resolve that way, if you are convinced that what they've come up with is the right thing to do, you have to come in and help pursue that goal. If they so resolve that they want to be part and parcel of the sovereign Zimbabwe, and voluntarily so, I think people have to find a modus operandi of getting people of Matabeleland to become part and parcel of the sovereign Zimbabwe, and voluntarily so, where they will be respected as a people, where opportunities will be afforded to them equally as they are afforded to any other person in the whole of Zimbabwe.
And that is a very interesting thing. But what is it that they can do to be regarded as equals in Zimbabwe?
Look, freedom cannot be given to you on a platter. You must be prepared that if you can't give me what I deserve, I must be prepared to take it from you by force. If we can't talk humanely and we agree that you give me what you know rightfully deserves, belongs to me, and that what I rightfully deserve. Look, it is a universal charter that people must be respected. We have human rights. We have a human rights charter under the United Nations. There's a human rights convention, both in the SADC, in the African Union, and the United Nations. And all that